Hello, today I'm starting a new series, Mercury conjunctions. Now, Mercury is really, really important planet in the world we're living in at the moment. However, we are actually stepping into a different period soon. So this is very much to do with now. And the more spiritual side of the world is coming in. So things will change and we will go into more of Jupiterian time. So let's talk about let's talk about Mercury. And so Mercury is the prince. We have the sun, the king, queen is obviously moon, and this is their child, which is Mercury. Mercury in the natural zodiac rules, which is from Aries, rules third house, which is Gemini, and sixth house, which is Virgo. And I'm going to go through these two houses just briefly for those of you who are new to astrology. And I know it's a little bit boring for people who know, but third house is obviously rules hands, fingers, arms, and top of your shoulders. And it's also your throat chakra. Mercury rules your throat chakra. And so sixth house is stomach, digestion, like it's not just digestion of food, but it's also digestion of information, what we watch, what we hear, all of that, and what we see. It's all digesting information. So that's literally what what it's all about. Now, Mercury itself rules speech, rules the nervous system, rules your skin, and rule also allergies. Any form of allergy is to do with Mercury. Mercury is neuter in a sense. It's neither female or male. It's just like it's basically dependent on the house that it's sitting in, the sign that it's sitting in, and the influence that it has. It changes because it's the baby of the zodiac, and it rules Upachaya houses, third and sixth house, so they get better with time. Wherever Mercury sits, because it's obviously rules adolescents and children and young people. So wherever it sits in your chart, you are not obviously with everything to do with life we have to learn, but wherever Mercury is, we have to learn even more about it, if you like. And just like children, Mercury is very flexible with information, because what happens with all of us when we are young, we are much more open to things. We have our pineal gland working. We don't really see color in people, religion. We don't think about their belief systems. We accept everyone. So in a sense, like we don't really think, oh, I don't like this music or that person or anything like that. That's not how we work as a child. We actually, our environment, our conditioning, our parents, our schools, everything sort of shapes us, if you like. So anyway, yeah. So this is like this is the reason why they say wherever Mercury sits, it can. If it's sitting with benefics, it will be benefic. It'll act like a benefic. But if it's in sitting with malefics, it'll be malefic. So, for example, Mercury sitting with Venus will be very different to Mercury sitting with Mars. For one thing, one is friendly with her, the other one is enemy with her. And also, say, for example, as a young child, if you hang around with kids who are troublemakers, you are likely to be conditioned to be like them. So it doesn't necessarily mean you are like them, but you can be conditioned to be like that. Similarly, if you are with people who are quite Jupiterian, quite forward-looking and quite, optimistic and all of that, that is how Mercury is going to function. So it's very changeable, and therefore, as you can see that whatever house we're sitting in, we're a little bit immature about we think we know it, but actually we have to learn a lot more about it too. But Mercury in today's world, it's so, so important. So I'm just going to go through some of the indications. I haven't really made many notes, so I'm just going to, hopefully everything will come to me. I'm wearing green to honor it, and I'm going to publish this on a Wednesday, which is a day that's ruled by Mercury. It rules emeralds, it rules nature, it rules anything green, plants, it rules fast food, because obviously it's a fast moving planet. So Mercury, as I said, rules third and sixth house of natural zodiac. It's friendly with the sun, very, very good friends with Venus. And it's also, although some, I would say friendly towards Saturn, although it can be a little bit like Saturn, if you're sitting with Mercury, can really just drain it. And it's also, Rahu works well in Mercury signs, although I would probably say Rahu is a trickster, can make us tell lies. So if it's with planet of speech, we're more likely to be like fibbing. I'm not saying lying, just fibbing little white lies, things like that. But obviously it's got to be quite, Mercury, it is a malefic really. So, but it's also multi-talented. There are so many things that are ruled by Mercury. It's absolutely incredible. So let's make a start. So obviously it rules third house. So communication, this is exactly what I'm doing now. So it rules all of those things, everything to do with emails, texting, messaging, all social media, all mainstream media, newspapers, journalism, broadcasting. Crikey, what is it that it doesn't do? It rules travel. It rules movement, literally, because you're born first house, Aries, second house, family. When you get in the nurture of the family, third house, you start moving. It rules kind of also third house, also friends, colleagues, siblings. So this is the very first time you start like arguing with them, right? This is my toy. How you speak, how you get brave, how you get courageous and fight your corner. You express yourself. You're hot, you're cold, you're tired, all of those things. And it's Mercury rules students, young people, rules friends, mates, pals, teamwork, rules, as I said, neighbors, rules neighborhoods, what else? Rules commerce, stock market, money, currency. And obviously dollar notes are green, so it's very, very Mercury. Rules all forms of information, data, like if you can get like if you wanted to sort of like ask your government for like freedom of information, that's it. So it's all of that data is actually Mercury. Mercury is in everything. So you buy like for example, say if you buy like a vacuum cleaner, it's instruction books is Mercury. Learning is Mercury. Courses, skills, days out, picnics, cinema, singing, dancing, music, learning music, playing music, partying, all of those things are all Mercury and all third house. Making things with your hands is your dexterity is also Mercury. Mercury rules herbs. So herbal, Ayurvedic, healing things, all sixth house. So this is again Mercury. Reiki, massage, personal training, exercise, yoga. What else? Oh my God, there's so many things that it rules. Recipes, when you're cooking, recipes. Bringing people into your groups and teams and all of those things. It's also sixth house of competition is also to do with that as well. It's basically your ability to work things out. So like, you get a puzzle in front of you as a kid and you see the space that is empty and you're trying to match the shapes of toys to that. And so ability to work that out is and that as we grow older as well. So obviously, we could have like a cryptic puzzle, crosswords, all of those are. So it's also entertainment of whatever we are interested in. So whether it's YouTube, learning, or watching Netflix, all of those things are all to do with Mercury. Mercury is the organizer, and is practical, is intellectual. It's not intelligence. Intelligence is the sun, and it's not logical. That is Mars. So your how you organize yourself. This is also very much from the very moment you wake up. How do you organize yourself? I have to say, last 2.5 years, I just have not been able to. It just seems to take me longer and longer to get myself sorted, because there's so much information going on, and I want to be really in, because of the other jobs that I do, I need to be in the know. So it's just taking me longer and longer to get these videos done and actually fit them in, and everything has been really trying. I'm also doing mercurial things, in the sense that I'm doing gardening, growing vegetables and herbs. I'm making my own potions and lotions and things. So that's all Mercury. Mercury is commerce, merchandising, displays in the shops, all of those wonderful things that you see for festivities, Christmas or carnivals and things like that. They're all to do with display. So it tracks the eye, because we're taking information in, that kind of thing. And obviously the worst thing of all is when we are on our mobiles. I mean, I've deleted all the big apps now. I mean, my phone is literally so old anyway, but it's got no ability to have any form of apps on there. So all of those things are obviously graphic design, marketing, things like that. They're all to do with Mercury. And obviously Mercury is quite fickle, so this is how you can get yourself into trouble, because you could be like on Facebook. Oh God, I've had to delete everything. I am not actually dealing with any big companies, although I deal with YouTube and Zoom obviously at the moment. So, but generally speaking, you get trapped into that. So they trick you into like, you're watching something, and because they're listening to your conversation, that advertising comes in. Before you know it, you bought something from Amazon, you bought something else from Amazon, that leads you to another one, and before you know it, you got all these things that you don't need. And so it's very impulsive, because it is young, and also that's Rahu as well, but it is also Mercury. And partying, picnicking, organizing barbecues, days out at the beach, going to the zoo, pets, rescue animals, all of those things are to do with sixth house as well. Sixth house is also work. So how do you get yourself organized in the morning? So you get up, you exercise, eat, shower, and get yourself organized, so you leave in time to get to work in time. That's all Mercury. How you then organize yourself at work in order to meet your deadlines, that's Mercury. Working with others, trying to get on with others, create teamwork, that's also Mercury. Mercury is also practical, so it's going to be like a really strong. Mercury knows how to gain information, how to utilize information, what's good. It uses a lot of discernment, so it's quite clever, quite good in the sense, also it's green, so it's envy and jealousy is Mercury. So it could be like you. I mean, obviously I've got the green on today, so, and this is when you see that you realize that every planet has got a real negative side to it. So with Mercury, it could be very much about like noticing other, because it rules sixth house of critical, and it doesn't miss detail, is sixth house. And obviously sixth house of natural zodiac is Virgo. Is an earth sign. It's all to do with money, and it's very materialistic. So it's noticing what somebody else has and you haven't. And so it can, this is something that you've got to realize also, that particularly Mercury, when it is in earth signs, it's very materialistic. So they've got a new car, you notice that. Like your friend has got a new pair of earrings or something, you notice that. So they're very like, oh yeah, I noticed that. It's also like that if planets that are in Mercury nakshatras, which rules Ashlesha, Jyeshta, and Revati. Revati not so much, but definitely, I'm saying not so much, it doesn't mean, but Mercury nakshatras could be a little bit like that, where they're a little bit like you notice things and it's like, oh, I wish they're gone on holiday, I wish I could have done that. So just be careful, because you don't want to create like negative energy for yourself. So never send it out. When you say something to somebody, make sure it doesn't have a double meaning. So always protect your karmas. You're intelligent, you're doing astrology, so you want to just like make your own life better. But like when some people give you double-edged, like they don't really mean it, so they just give you a compliment, but it's like a backhanded one. So all of us know, we know that we don't want something like that, because they don't really mean it. So, but actually what they do, these people, they make it harder for themselves. And inevitably we all have a sixth house, and sixth house is obviously is how you see that jealousy, and it's enemies as well. But we know them because sixth house is like an open house, so we actually notice and feel the energy that is negative, whereas eighth house and 12th house are secret enemies. We don't know that, they're just like doing it's like a little bit like voodoo-ish, bad black energy. But all of that, all it does, it traps that person in that negative thing. So I think it's always good to just let it go, because we all have these earth signs in our chart. We all have Mercury nakshatras in our chart, so we can't really say that, oh, but I'm not like that. There's always going to be a situation where we can be like that. So we just have to, as spiritual souls who are awakened and want to just like have the better life, when you see that and you feel really bad, just like you send those bad energies away and just protect yourself, and just send love to other people, because you don't really know what they're going through. They could all be smiley, and that's not really necessarily how their life is. So what else? Okay, so I said, obviously Mercury rules, it's like Jupiter, it's really good for first house. So gets directional strength in the first house of the chart. So if it's in the ascendant, whether it's in D1 or any other of your subcharts, then that subchart you have massive focus on. Also works really well in the eighth house. That is one house that I can truly say the only planet that works really well in the eighth house is Mercury. So if you have it in your chart already, or one of your subcharts, or you're going to go through a planetary period, where Mercury is in your eighth house, I'm going through that right now. I'm loving it. It's absolutely amazing. So yeah, brilliant. And actually, if Mercury is also in, so despite all the difficulties that I've been through, I am just making the most of this sub period, because sub period of Mercury for me has just literally, that's what it's done. It's brought in the astrology that I've been studying for years. It's just made me want to share that with others. It's like a free gift to the world, write off some of my karma, even though I seem to be so ill. So I don't know, maybe like it's creating some issues along the way as well. But anyway, it's other people's issues. So you just got to just be open-hearted, don't you? And yeah, so if you have that in any subchart, happy days, that's brilliant. In one of the chart that having eighth house Mercury is fantastic, whether it is naturally in there or in a dasha, is when you get it in your D11 Aya. I don't mean the normal one, I mean the Aya, when Sage Aya is Iyer. If you get it in that one and Mercury is in the eighth house, you could suddenly gain. Now that gain, it could be monetary, it normally is. However, it could also be gain of knowledge, it could be gain of great friends, because obviously rules friends, gain of information that's important, gain of like lots of travel, a great job, all of that things. So all of those groups that can help you is amazing. So it also only has only aspects 7 houses opposite house, that's it. So so blesses it's a benefic anyway, but it's if by association it is sitting with the malefic, and malefics are Saturn, Mars, Rahu, Ketu, then there is a difficulty there. And it's also not very good with Jupiter. Jupiter and Mercury are not very good. So you will notice that if you got Mercury in Jupiter signs or Jupiter nakshatras, which is Purnavasu, Vishaka, and also Purva Bhadrapada, Mercury doesn't do very well at all in these. And what it does, it just expands the person's mind and thinking process and learning. And it's very difficult to consolidate all that learning. So yeah, and it just really focusescapes the person for a while. If you've got a Mercury which is debilitated, don't worry, because you also need to know whether or not what the condition is in your D9. That is really what is going on, not necessarily D1. And the Navamsha chart, if if you find that it's in a strong position, then that is, sometimes when they're debilitated, they can be exalted in the Navamsha. But just check that, because this is the reason why it's very important to know to the minute when you were born. And what else? So the other thing is as well, it's also Mercury is in certain houses gives you wonderful ability. So as I said, 8th house and 1st house. 6th house is good as well, because obviously it's going to help you organize things, because Mercury is really good at working at obstacles of life and how to tackle those and get over those issues with using your intellect, being practical, and just like getting the timings right, getting the cooperation that you need in order to do things well. And Mercury, because it's a planet that likes to get on with other people, work with other people, is it can give you many what do you call it? It's a merchant, so you can actually get on with anyone. And so Mercury, as I said, is speech. When it's aspected by Rahu, or if it's in the 12th house or has got 12th house Lord aspect or something like that, it can actually, if it's in a good condition, it can really help you learn languages very quickly and just work out really sort of things to do with space, with astronomy, with other realms, with mysterious things. So amazing. It's got so many facets to it, really. It's unbelievable. And sometimes though, when Mercury is overly strong, where it's like in quite rigid signs and things, it can be too left-brained. So it could just be like, it could be just far too intellectual to actually really see the spiritual side of life. This is what, this is some of the reason why we've struggled because the world is so Rahu, so Mercury. And but obviously things to do with the source, with spiritual growth, awakening, like the other realms, and just being connected, psychic things. If they can't see it, they can't believe it. So they're really a little bit stuck in a 3D world, really, where, oh, well, prove it to me. And even if you prove it to them, if it's not in an intellectual manner, they really struggle with that. They just like, I don't know, it doesn't sit with them very well. So there is this issue there as well. So it's worth knowing that too. And what else do I want to say? So I already told you the planets that is, it works well with. One of the things is also that Mercury is obviously, when you are like Gemini Ascendant or Virgo Ascendant, what happens is Jupiter is in your 7th house. So this is why sometimes, this is what they call the Badak house for them, because what happens is for the dual signs, their 7th house or 7th lord can give them troubles. We all have that, so it's not just necessarily just them, but this is just for Gemini and Virgo Ascendant. So they have some obstacles to get through to learn about, like relationships, business relationship, partnerships and things like that. And so yeah, so that's the you know, because they are attracted to somebody who is very like spiritual and thinking like, you know, the big picture, whereas they are stuck very much in the detail, like particularly Virgo, in the small detail, and they can't see how everything in the big you know, big picture is going to work out if the little detail is wrong. So they could be a little bit stuck with detail too, particularly Virgo ascendant. So but yeah, so this is why there are some challenges there, whereas Jupiter wants to see the big picture, and they attracted to people. I mean, this is how the balance in the world is really, but they're just thinking, oh, I'm reading all this classical, you know, information, and there she is, or he is, you know, on his social media, like uh, doing this and that. So, you know, and like the Geminis particularly like the gossipy columns and things like that. And yeah, so it's a little bit like two worlds apart, but that's how they balance each other out too. Anyway, I'm going to just kind of bring this to an end now. Hopefully I haven't missed anything. If I have, I will add it in another video, but let's start. I'm going to start with Mercury Sun together, because Mercury is a very fast moving planet, so as a result can be a bit fickle. It rules gay people as well, and it is also comedic. It's got fantastic timing. It's full of one-liners. It can mimic anything. It's all to do with copying, any printing, copying of anything. Is all of that. All jobs that are clerical are ruled um, by Mercury. Taxi drivers which travel short distances, short distance travel is ruled by them. They are also mercurial, because they do like small chat, you know, social butterflies, that kind of thing. So anyway, let's start the ascendants. Thank you very much. Okay, I just came across some other notes about Mercury, so I thought I'd just put them in as well. So obviously Mercury rules internet, rules gaming, all sorts of gambling and things like that as well. It can be to do with Rahu, Mercury, but Mercury is all the entertainment places where we go to have fun, whether it's like ski slopes, indoor skiing, indoor sort of skating, all of those things have got things to do with Mercury. Mercury is also the editor too. So when you actually go through your, I don't know, say, apologies, so you write an essay and you go through it, that's also like Mercury editing, taking things out, or even editor or newspaper is ruled. They're all ruled by Mercury. It's our talents, how we learning by repetition, because it's copying. So it learns through repeating, you know, learning. It's very factual, and this is the reason why it can kind of question certain belief systems. I can't see it, so it doesn't exist, that kind of thing. So this is why there's a problem between Mercury and Jupiter, because one is just like, doesn't need to see it. It can feel God. It can feel the, you know, it can walk on grass and feel Mother Nature. You know, that's just like they are connected. They can receive downloads and things more easily, those people who are with higher realm. But whereas if you're stuck too much in the can't see it, so it doesn't exist, so it's just a lot more limited in that sense. It's ideas and social ability. Sun, Mercury, very bright. I just got actually a few notes that are from many years ago, so I thought I'd just share them with you as well. It's like Mercury, Rahu can give you, because obviously Mercury is what you call skin, can give you acne. Mercury, Mars can give you inflammation, eczema, that kind of thing. Mercury, Saturn can give dark patches on your skin. Mercury, Sun can give you sunburn, but it's the person will be very bright as a button, you know, particularly if Mercury is not combust. And so let's see. Okay. So in the first house, this is like, obviously Mercury is chatting. If they go in the first house, they like to talk about themselves. Mercury in the second house like to talk about money, food, family. Third house like to talk about siblings and friends. Fourth house like to talk about land, property, mum, talking with mum. Fifth house like to love life and poems, poetry, and Sixth house likes to talk about work and nutrition. Seventh house likes to talk about love. Eighth house loves to talk about death, sex, siblings, taboo stuff. Ninth house talks about religion and belief system. 10th house likes to talk about work. 11th house likes to talk about friends and networks. 12th house likes to talk about bed pleasures. It's hilarious. Okay, so careers that, you know, what kind of things? It can be so many things. It can be scientists. It could be curious about, you know, skilled, talented, quick wit, jack of all trades. So obviously this is not careers. This is just all things about Mercury. It can be I'll put calculator. Calculators are ruled by Mercury. It's obviously a communicator, follower of the rules. If it's in bad dignity with Rahu, it can be a thief or you know, tell fibs. It doesn't necessarily have to be really, really bad and bend the rules. It can also be an eternal student. It's a great researcher, helpful, mediator, versatile, realist, friends, connections, sense of humor, loves knowledge, juggles things, especially with Swati Nakshatra. It's a realist and no harsh opinions if not involved with Mars. So Mars makes it that way. Obviously, and I've written like things about speech therapy, can be one of the jobs that they do. Mercury helps us manage our life. They make good astrologers, astronomers with Rahu. Even a Kendra of Jupiter, great for knowledge and colleges. He rules post office stamps, stamp collecting. Anything you collect is ruled by Mercury. And rules lungs, nose, hips, autism, ADHD, anything green, helpful. Already said that. Non-threatening, rules animal kingdom. And what else got here? It's your dexterity. Mercury in the second house of D4 will be good, obviously, because for property and things. Likes writing, marketing and networking, information technology, particularly with Mars or Rahu, sculpting, hand skills, philosophy as is practical. Jupiter will be more spiritual philosophy. Youth, childhood behavior. If you know it rules you, you look younger. Plastic surgery as somebody wants youth. Plastic surgeon is Mars. It's pretty amazing. Behavior of bird, as they move a lot like birds. So amazing. Mercury rules obviously matures at 32, so it takes the houses. You get fruits more as it gets older. It rules herbs, pizza. It's a bridge between inside and out. It's Karaka of acting, dancing, and writing. Allergies is analyzes things, intellect, education, learning, and additional learnings that we take later. It's a client, trade, business, aunts and uncles, and grandfather, maternal side, younger siblings, and acid. Okay, let's see what else we have. This is so much fun because I've seen these things for years. So Mercury transiting your natal Mercury element every 6 years is a pivotal time. Oh, so yeah, so if you know, so that's amazing because it happens every 6 years. It goes into where it was when you were born. So yeah. And each elemental return, you refine another subtle part of your life, self-development. That's definitely Mercury. Mercury ahead of the Sun is the more superior conjunction. So rather than the other way around, Sun ahead, yeah, as long as it's not combust. So what else do we have? It's obviously, I said it's trickster, i.e. Mercury retrograde in Aries, something new, because obviously it's a pioneering sign, Aries. Mercury retrograde for transformation. Okay, Mercury retrograde can be expressive by means of writing, alchemy, magic, connections. Gambling as is fifth house, so third house is habits. So Mercury, messenger of God, whatever house it's in, messenger of that house. Mercury in Aquarius, evolution and consciousness, alignment with others, intellectual evolution. Mercury equals spread of the message, throat chakra. Mercury in Pisces is more intuitive, spiritual, and less to do with kind of practicality. So it's like spiritual intellect. So combust Mercury means we need to learn to ask for what we want. If Mercury's seventh lord in the D9, intelligent partner, fickle-minded, unpredictable, somehow younger. Mercury does not do well in Jupiter signs. Obviously, we know that. Mercury and K2, great placement for acting illusion. Mercury rules environment, schools, young people's school. I said that already. Friends, thinking. Third house is thinking. Mercury is in third house, chatterbox. In Libra, this is a great platform for them because of other people, you see. Mercury and Saturn, indication towards skin issues, disease, or Mercury in Capricorn, melasma, pigmentation. It's in friendly sign as well, so it's always give and take these things. Right, so that's it. A few other things. Mercury retrograde, actually, these people always go back on what they say. They constantly going back and reviewing, revising, reassessing what they've said. But, you know, Mercury goes retrograde 3 times a year. It's not such a bad thing, because if Mercury is too strong, we just can be like chatterboxes, like, look at my video, how long it has been. So this is like tribute to Mercury. Anyway, guys, have a lovely time, a great day, and I'll see you soon. Thank you. Hello, this video is for a conjunction of Mercury and the Moon for all ascendants. And I'm just going to tell you a little bit about obviously indications of the Moon. So Moon is our mind, our mother, it's our home environment, how we grew up. The nurture we had, the nourishment we received from our family, from our, you know, because natural fourth house of the zodiac, which is Cancer and ruled by the Moon, is literally our first, you know, it's also our early education. It's food that we've eaten in family gatherings. It's how secure we feel, how safe we feel. It's how emotionally driven we are, how receptive we are, whether or not we have our emotions intact or not. It's really, we've got to look at the Moon and Cancer. And it's also Cancer is the homeland too. It's not just home, but it's also homeland. It's natural fourth house of the zodiac. It's where Jupiter, you know, planet of wisdom and high knowledge, is actually it's exalted. So Moon and Mercury are not friendly towards each other. One is how we think, how practical we are, and the other one is emotions. So emotions can get the better of us, and therefore we could just be like, if we are overly thinking, overly emotional, we could just not really deal with life's and, you know, because obviously Mercury just wants to get the jobs done at the end of the day. It just wants to, it's all to do with your daily routines, being organized, managing yourself. Management generally of life is to do with Mercury. So now when emotions are involved in it, it's very hard to not overthink things. So there could be like a tendency, because the two planets are so very different to each other. It could just be like, I can't work until I deal with this emotion, or this person looked at me in this way and I can't really, do they like me, do they not like me, so it could be just overplay in the mind. And so yeah, Mercury doesn't do well in moon sign Cancer, and vice versa. Moon doesn't do well in Mercury. And I actually think this is one of those although people always say, like Sun Saturn is very difficult, like moon Saturn is difficult. This is also quite difficult too, because although they're both quite benefic planets, their agenda is so very different. And you could just literally, words can have such an impact on emotions, particularly if moon is weak, so yeah, I mean, if say Mercury and Moon, were in a sign that they both did well in, it could be good. But they come from, it's a difficult situation anyway. So yeah, so Mercury is your intellect and Moon is your emotions. So having them in a sign or ascendant means that they think about that part of life all the time, and emotional thinking as well. So never really switch off. But they could have lots of ideas as a result as well. So it could also be quite creative, because both our planets are creation in a sense. Although moon is also gives you the emotions that you tap into that too. So yeah, it's so moon is definitely not friendly with Mercury. And Mercury comes from the other side, because there's a side of planets where there's Venus, Mercury, and Saturn. They get on, and then there is Moon, Mars, Sun, and Jupiter. They're from the other camp. So the camps are different camps. So they are, it's just different, and what happens is moon is a sattvic planet, rules a sattvic sign, so there's this purity about it. And Mercury just want to have fun, and when emotions get in the way, everything comes from like, I'm feeling too much, so I can't do much. So it's a little bit difficult when people, particularly if you run a business and you have people, one person or two people like that, the work can't get done because they have to process that feeling first. And of course, emotions are important. So, but then workplace is all about like achieving a goal. So yeah, it's different agendas. So it can play a little bit of difficulty into things. But however, if they're in the ascendant, and whenever there's moon and ascendant in the same sign and even in the same nakshatra, that person's path in line, which is the ascendant, and feeling about that path is aligned. But obviously, Mercury is it's aligning with the moon in a completely different way. But because when he is with the moon, if we read the sign, read the chart from there, so Mercury will have directional strength. So there's that as well. So, but yeah, it is a difficult one. I think I remember, there is like, I think Meghan Markle has this, where Moon, she's a Cancer ascendant, and Moon is in Virgo, and Mercury is in Cancer. So it's the exchange between the first and third house. So yeah, so she must be just like all over the place with her thinking, bless her, just like, oh, it's just, and then also that's the thing. Another thing is with the emotion things, people who are overly emotional, which this can give you that, they could dump their emotions on you and you'll be like really worried for them. And then they're okay, but you're still worried about them as well. So there's this, I know children can do that too to us. So anyway, so yeah, different agendas altogether. So, and I know they're supposed to be two benefics and everything, but these have just a little bit too these can be quite intense. So let's have a look at the charts. But if you have it, don't worry, because what happens is if Mercury is strong, or their dispositor is strong, it will really help. So it's funny because 1st of August we're going to have this going on. It's like literally within sort of moments this is going to happen in the sky. But if you have it in this, you really just like, if you work on the moon, that will really help, because moon is mind is just the muscle. So if you work on it, then you get pretty good results from this, really, because it could make somebody give somebody amazing imagination where they can really write such fantastic books. So you'll get such attachment to the characters within it, because they can explain everything and emotionally connect with that, the book, the characters, and it'll be a difficult book to put down. So here we are. So let's say for Aries Ascendant. So this will bring together Mercury, which is third and sixth house rulers. So as we said before, these are upachaya houses, which means it gets better with time. But sixth house also means that it will break any yogas for good, if you like. So it's a yoga breaker, sixth house ruler, or sixth house being involved in any combinations of planets or placements. So yeah, so this will be like third, fourth, and sixth house rulers together. So you know that there could be discord with the mum's health could be poorly, or there could be some debts to do with a home, with a car, with a sibling. There's some sort of discord between either friends, mum, work, because sixth house is work and service, that kind of thing. So these can be issues. And obviously what will happen is Mercury rules the sixth house. So if it is in the sixth house, the person can probably eventually work its way through, because Mercury can do that. It can really work through difficult situations, as long as they keep the mind compartmentalized, so they can just like function in an organized manner, because obviously Mercury is highly organized. So in this situation, Moon will be weak and Mercury will be strong. Equally, if it goes into Scorpio as well, Moon will be again weak, but Mercury will be strong, because eighth house, even though it's an unfriendly sign, it will actually do quite well, because it can get all the information necessary to function, because in the eighth house, Mercury is the only planet that works pretty well. So yeah, this is going to be not such an easy thing, and the fruits of sort of like being emotionally stable. And so they can overthink what people say, how people communicate. They can overthink it and just make it, so I would probably say it's really good if they could use that imagination and that thinking process in order to make it a more positive thing, like working with mothers. Maybe sixth house is service, fourth house is mother. The mothers who are having some struggles or putting some effort into their work, which is service to mothers, or early education of children, that kind of thing. But yeah, so wherever it goes, obviously Moon is debilitated in the eighth house and Mercury in the 12th house. So in that sense, really, because Mercury is already sixth house ruler, when he goes into the eighth or the 12th house, naturally, after some level of losses, issues, and obstacles and losses and things, they can actually overcome all of those things eventually, because third and sixth house are upachaya, but it will kind of damage the fruits from the fourth house in a sense. But yeah, it could be. Obviously, you hope that Mercury, if you got it in the 12th house, Mercury will be debilitated, but then this person could be highly creative too, and they could be spiritually very of service to the others too. Okay, so next ascendant, Taurus. Mercury rules second and fifth house, and Moon rules the third house. So in that sense, what will happen is brings together a very creative person, a family of creativity. They could all be like musicians, they could be actors, they could all do they have a great sense of fun. They always think about inviting their mom and connecting. They it's those families that if they go out, all the family goes out, their children, grandchildren, they just literally on the phone to each other. They care for one another quite deeply too. So yeah, and particularly if it happens in the first house, Moon will be exalted, and Mercury will have directional strength and in friendly signs. So that will be probably the best case scenario there, really. So yeah, pretty much brings, and actually with this one, as long as it doesn't happen in Libra, in any other sign, it should be fine, because Libra is sixth house, and these bring together like second and fifth house. Mercury makes money for them. Third house means they have to put effort into that. So pretty much good in any old way. In this case, actually, even in the 12th house or even in the 11th house, Mercury, where it's debilitated or feels debilitated in Aries, it'll still work pretty well because it'll be very out of the box kind of creativity. They could also be singers if it's actually connected to the 10th house, because it brings together second and third house and brings two benefics together. So their speech will be really of grace, and they can probably make other people feel really nice. And it could be that they sing songs that, or they speak some form of, in such a creative way, inspiring way, that it could actually move people. So yeah, and they could also do ballads and songs like that, where they can actually they really make such an emotional, hit you deeply, those sort of songs that you remember for a long time. Okay. Gemini Ascendant. For you guys, what happens? This brings together second house ruler, house of money, moon, first and fourth house ruler. So together they bring together, create something called a Dana yoga of wealth. Mercury on its own does create first and fourth house together. So that's just on its own can create that sort of situation anyway. So it's a good planet, rules two really strong angles. So as long as it doesn't go into the sixth house, this can give really good fruits. Even when Mercury is debilitated in Pisces in the 10th house, nonetheless, though, this is still somebody who's got fantastic imagination and can make quite good money too. And as long as Jupiter, they're sort of dispositor of Pisces, if it's that strong, then it's going to be very, very nice indeed. So yeah, this can be pretty good. Even in the 12th house, where Mercury feels debilitated in Taurus, it's still friendly sign to Mercury, but then Moon will be exalted, but they'll be spending money all the time because it brings together second and 12th house ruler. So on the one hand, they try and save, and on the other hand, they spend in it. So it's all fun and games, isn't it? Okay, Cancer Ascendant. Oh gosh, here we go. Right. For Cancer Ascendant, Moon obviously rules the first house, so it's a trinal and an angle house ruler. But Mercury rules third and 12th house, so it's not a great planet. 12th house is Upachaya house, and third house is house that you have to put efforts into it, and with time it gets better. But as long as it doesn't go into the sixth house, even in the sixth house, because Mercury rules the 12th house, and from there you'll be aspect in the 12th house, it's not so bad. But if he goes into the sixth house, because this creates a Viparit Raj Yoga, through some difficulties and maybe like some addictions, some health issues, etc., they can pull themselves up. And actually, Mercury's sixth house is the planet of intellect, so you can deal with those things pretty well, and it could be really of service to the others. This also could be somebody who's a medical doctor or something, working in laboratory or behind the scenes. And let's do the next one. Okay, so for Leo Ascendant, this is going to be Mercury rules second and 11th house. So somebody, it's a planet that creates money for them. So if it goes on its own, as long as it doesn't go into the sixth house, but then even that could be that debt of other people can create money for them. But generally, we're going to say if it's not in the sixth house. But this is going to be, if it goes in the, look at this, it's a trinal house of Mercury's got directional strength in Leo in the first house, friendly sign. But Moon is going to be a bit naughty there, because it's going to be like 12th house ruler in the first house. So there could be some addictions. There could be that they just overspend. There could be some health issues, or they could just live abroad. And if fourth house is involved, or third house. But generally speaking, it could just be that the person feels a little bit lost at the beginning, but it does get better with time. But 12th house doesn't break any yogas. So as long as it doesn't fall into the sixth house, you know, it should be okay. So if, for example, if this say Mercury was in Virgo, you know, this creates a really good dana yoga anyway. So second house ruler in the first house, 11th house ruler in the first house, that's great. And this is also 11th house ruler, you know, with the 12th house. So as soon as they earn the money, they lose the money too. So yeah, and it could also be issues with, like, they don't really know their elder sibling, or the elder sibling could be from a different marriage too, because 12th house is like, it's a hidden house. So, and 11th house is elder sibling. So it could also be losses through friends, because Mercury is friends, 11th house is friends. So you could lose money, borrow, you know, lend money to somebody, and you never get that borrowed money back, and you lose a friend and the money. But yeah, this will be good. Probably say in the 5th house will be nice, because it's a trinal house, but Mercury is not that strong there, and it's, you know, it's probably better if it was happening, say, in the 10th house, because Moon will have direction, will be exalted, and Mercury will be in a friendly sign, so that would be pretty nice. So they could work behind the scenes, but they'd be very important. I mean, they'd be so creative. So, and also in the 3rd house, again, you know, this will be second house ruler in the 3rd house, so they can gain wealth through their voice and how they speak and sing and stuff like that. Okay. So Virgo Ascendant. For Virgo Ascendant, obviously Mercury rules 1st and 10th house. So it's the planet that rules an angle and a trine. So it's a very important planet, Mercury. And Moon rules the 11th house. So actually together they create a really strong dana yoga. Being together is 11th house ruler and a trinal ruler Moon. Mercury together is really good. If it's in the 1st house, Mercury will be own sign or exalted in the 1st house, and the 1st house, which is directional strength. So it'd be amazing. Yeah, so it'll be really good in the 1st house. It'll also be quite good also in, I mean, obviously they're overthinking and everything. It'll be good in 11th or 10th house too. And if it is in the 9th house, Moon will be exalted, and it'd be 10th house ruler in the 9th house. So multiple things happening. It's probably not great if it's in the 7th house, because Mercury is debilitated, but then it's looking after the 1st sign by aspecting own sign. When planets aspect their own sign, it's always good, protects that house. Yeah. So we definitely wouldn't want this to be in the 6th house Aquarius, because it will, you know, upset that. But then even if it is, after some hardship, then we start getting fruits from that. Libra Ascendant, this is 9th and 12th house ruler Mercury, and Moon, which is 10th house ruler. So, you know, this person is going to be like, because it brings 9th and 10th house ruler, and 12th house ruler doesn't actually break any good yoga. So it's really high quality Raja yoga, particularly if it goes, you know, like if it's in the ascendant, because Mercury will have directional strength. It'll be really good, obviously, if Moon if, you know, they're in the 9th house, it'll be really good, because it's the trinal house too. It'll be really nice also in, say, for example, if it is, I'm saying this like in the 5th house, but, you know, Moon doesn't do so well there in the non-friendly sign, but nonetheless though, it's a trinal house, and the 1st they're going to be like 9th and 12th house and 10th house ruler in the 5th house. So be very creative, but creative in order to help others, you know, and doing some educational thing, advice. 5th house is advice, children, students, that kind of thing. But yeah, we want to keep it away from the 6th house, because Mercury will be debilitated house, and also yes, or Jupiter is this connected to them as well. So yeah, as long as 6th house is away, it should be good. Don't ever worry though if that is the case. Just go with it, because this is something that you have to experience, and we all have to experience these difficulties. You know, I have learned more from difficult times than good times, really. Okay, so Scorpio Ascendant. So obviously you know, straight away Mercury is not friendly with Mars. So that's going to be like 11th house is going to be Upachaya, obviously gets better with time. And 8th house is Dushtana house. So fruits are going to be like there'll be sudden changes in the wealth and work. Sorry, not work. Moon rules the 9th house in belief system, in education. There could be cuts, but it also brings together 9th and 11th house ruler together as well, and that is a really strong Dana yoga. So an 8th house doesn't, you know, just it can just suddenly bring luck, suddenly bring wealth. And but obviously in the first house, Moon will be debilitated. I probably would say this can be a little bit difficult because Moon is already like debilitated, is sitting with an enemy Mercury, so that could be a little bit difficult. But Mercury will have directional strength there. It probably will be really quite good if they were in the 8th house, actually, because Mercury does well in the 8th house, doesn't break any yogas either. And yeah, so that could be not too bad, and still will be like getting gains suddenly. Or they could work in like very taboo industry, like, you know, funeral directors or something like that. If it's, you know, and that could just suddenly bring elevation of, you know, if it's connected to the 6th or 10th house as well. Well, I'm going to say 10th house. And so for these people, you know, like obviously if it is, if they are kind of in Sagittarius, Mercury will be aspecting own sign, so that's going to protect their 8th house, and Moon will be in friendly sign there. But generally speaking, you know, this is not going to be good in some ways. It's not going to be good if it's in this house. It's not going to be good if it's in the 5th house because Mercury will be debilitated. But it will make somebody who's extremely creative, you know, so there's always a gain from something. And also through that, it will just protect the 11th house of gains from these people. So nothing is completely bad. So next, ascendant. Okay, so Mercury Moon for Sagittarius Ascendant will be, Moon is obviously rules 8th house, and now we've got 7th and 10th house. So you know that there could be some changes in the relationships, sudden breakups, or there could be a divorce. 8th house is divorce, or it could be that their life just changes, you know, or they work together in like a secret job or something, or they met secretly at work. And so two very strong angles are ruled by Mercury, 7th and 10th house. So when 8th house is, you know, so it could be secret jobs, surveillance, spying, research work in that sense going on as well with the work. But jobs could be chop and changing a little bit too, you know, the circumstances of work. But obviously because already Moon is in the 8th house ruler, it doesn't break any yogas. But if it goes into a trinal house, which is like 1st house, 5th or 9th house, then it creates what would be like good yogas, really, because it brings angle lords and trinal lords together, and that is pretty good for suddenly changing their situation. If it was in the 4th house, Mercury will be obviously debilitated, but Moon will have directional strength, so that was pretty good. But it could just be that they're chopping, changing their home all the time, moving, and they have to be careful not to have car accidents and things. So again, you know, it's like anything, there's always something to pay. But I probably would say for this ascendant, 12th house Moon Mercury could be quite difficult because Moon will be debilitated and Mercury will feel debilitated. And if it goes into the 6th house, which is Taurus, Moon will help Mercury actually there because he'll be exalted. And also through some difficulties and with time, they, you know, through service to others, things will get better through managing themselves better. So next ascendant, then we have Capricorn. So this is 6th house ruler and 9th house ruler Mercury, and also 7th house ruler. So already you know that there's going to be some difficulties with relationships and things. overthinking things about relationships, you know, communication issues with relationships. Also, ninth house is also education. Education can give them some debts, that kind of thing. But it could also be somebody who works in litigation and helping women who are, you know, like in dire straits and have got debt issues and things like that. But in terms of houses, because already sixth house ruler is involved, so it's going to be like a little bit difficult. If it goes in eighth and 12th house, then naturally what will happen through some difficulties, good things will happen with Viparit Raj Yoga. But generally speaking, is seventh and ninth house ruler together, so they create a nice Raja Yoga eventually with time, not immediately. But these people, the more they're of service to others, the better they do, really. Okay, so next one. Aquarius Ascendant, this will be for your fifth and eighth house ruler and sixth house ruler. So, you know, there's like having children, there'll be some obstacle, education, there'll be some obstacles, shares and investments like that can give them difficulties. And, but it also brings together sixth and eighth house rulers. So it could be that they gain, you know, through difficulties, or after, you know, having some troubles having children, suddenly they do, or changes in, you know, debts and everything incurred in sort of like education, academic education, then eventually, you know, good times come in. So yeah, because it's already involving like sixth house, then it's going to be long term before they get the fruits. And then for Pisces Ascendant, this brings together fourth and seventh house ruler, which is Mercury to really good angle houses, and fifth house ruler, which is Moon. So this is lovely. So if they are in the fifth house, creates two Raja Yogas. If it's in the first house, creates Raja Yogas and Dana Yogas, and Mercury will have directional strength. Moon will be in Jupiter sign, which he loves. And even though Mercury is debilitated, it has got directional strength, which I think sometimes is better. And yeah, and it will be like fourth house rule in the first house, Raja Yoga, seventh house rule in. So it'd be very, very success oriented one. And even if they goes in the 11th house, there's going to be lots of gains, and it will protect the fifth house. So it's good in there. As long as it doesn't go in the sixth house, it's absolutely wonderful. So that's it. That's it from me. I look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.